All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to the lab. We know we've been away for a while, but life has been good and life has been busy, as you can tell by the three tired faces sitting before you right now. Um, Maybe not Alex; he's always wired, just by that
Woo.
exciting. No, but just to kind of make things a little exciting for you guys, a few little new happenings and going around. We had our open house down in Centerville with NovaCare, which is just a blast. It was a good time. Had some wonderful and delicious cupcakes made by the gentleman with the bun on his head. His
Yeah,
wife made delicious cupcakes. They were fantastic. So thank you, Steph, for doing that again for us. If you want to look into them, it's Cake Decor by Steph, correct?
I believe so. On Instagram.
Yeah, go take a look. She's got great stuff, and they were fantastic. So by all means, go take a look at those. Um, and then last but not least, wanted to say thank you to everybody who has been very supportive of the new clinic, and it's just been awesome. So thank you guys so much for that. We've been we've been busy. We've been very busy. Um, but no, point of today, topic we're going to kind of get into today, auto regulation training. Um, Trying to think that got brought up. I can't even remember how long ago. I think we talked about like fitness trackers a long time ago, like the Whoop, the Fitbit, um, the Ring. I can't remember what it's called. I'm blanking on it right now. Aura Ring, is that right?
I don't know. I haven't heard that one.
That's
Okay.
the newer one coming out. That's newer. Yeah. Well, Morgan actually has one.
Oh, that's cool. I have
Yeah.
questions for her sometime.
What a
Um,
fit chick.
no, but for those of you who might not be as familiar with auto regulation type of training, it's basically just type of training that instead of having like a fixed, like periodized plan that you're going to go through, you're still going to have like an emphasis and basically point to your training. But you're going to maybe mix and modify based off the readiness of the individual. Um, Basically, in cases, I mean, life happens, right? So sometimes maybe you're not getting as much sleep, you're not able to eat as much, maybe hydration's tanking, maybe you just have a lot of life stressors kind of get in the way. So there's different ways that you can kind of monitor and measure maybe how ready you are for physical exertion. And so then being able to have maybe a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C based off your recovery or based off what your body's capable of for that week or day or month. Um, you can make those, adaptations to your training. I myself have kind of dabbled in this. I know when I had the Whoop for the longest time. I had it for like almost 2 years, and I got a lot of great data from it. And I learned a lot of different things that really put my body in a really basically not great situation to train, and I would feel it. Kind of got away from it for a while, and those bad things didn't really bother me. So, I mean, is it more of like an upstairs kind of a thing, or is it just you have the data in front of you, so then you just make smarter decisions? Chicken or the egg. Um, so how about you guys? Have you guys dabbled with auto regulation training? I mean, there's a few topics I'm going to kind of get into here a little bit, but I'm just curious to see just your offhand experience with it and just maybe what you guys have taken from it in your own training.
Oh, I don't use any like the fancy tools. Just kind of, I know my body. I know how I respond to certain stimuluses. I know how I'm going to react to, if I only got this amount of sleep last night, or if I only drank this much water that next day, or how my body's going to kind of react to it, or if I had
Hmm.
whatever foods I had the day before, I can pretty much tell you how exactly I'm going to feel, depend on what type of style I had. So, like on Wednesdays are my conditioning day, and I didn't eat very well or didn't drink very much on Tuesday. Odds are I'm going to be cramping and my power output, on the wind bike, if I'm trying to hit a certain percentage of wattage and I'm trying to hold that wattage for X amount of time,
Hmm.
I probably know I'm going to be off by probably anywhere from 50 to 100 watts. So,
Okay.
and then, honestly, like this summer, I think was been a huge change compared to last summer. And I think a lot of it's got to do with just we're in a new building and the heat's not there. So all these kids are able to kind of not let that be a factor, which is kind of another factor that you got to play into whenever you're trying to hit a certain percentage or something like that. And, the heat's just too much. It's thick. It's 115 degrees in the gym. And you just can't respond to that with the weight on your back and trying to breathe and things like that. So being in a cooler atmosphere has definitely helped the kids a lot this summer.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Trotter?
Yeah. Me personally, uh, I guess, kind of doing it now, without necessarily doing it, just because I'm not competing anymore or anything like that. So I kind of don't have like a set regimen, if you will. I have the grace of just kind of doing whatever I want when I want. Now, this is the first time that I've ever done that. It took me, I mean, my last competition was in 2023 in May, end of May, something like that. But I would say for like 6 months after that, like it was very hard for me to train,
Mhm.
just due to like different injuries, significant weight loss, strength just not being there anymore. So like it's really defeating like mentally kind of thing. So being able to like change that, but just coming to terms with I'm probably not going to live that lifestyle anymore, and I just kind of like think about that as like a different life.
Mhm.
Um, there's a time and place to be that really strong, but as far as like being practical and everyday use, it is not whatsoever. So yeah, so I kind of auto regulate now. But like Brandon said, like I'm getting back into doing the conditioning and stuff, or at least attempting to see how close I can get to having a heart attack. So that's different. And that's mainly just because, like I text Brandon like in the morning, like, hey, what'd you do for conditioning today? And then he texts me something stupid. And I'm like, all right, well,
You didn't text me this morning, dude. I did something real stupid today.
yeah, I know. I'm still hurting from the freaking yoke carries the other day.
Oh my God, you too.
So yeah, just being able to do that. But I also think that a big point that I do want to emphasize on is all three of us have been in a gym setting for at least a decade at this point that we have under our belt, to where we weren't missing workouts. We had a scheduled day for that we would do squats. We would have a scheduled day that we would do bench, so on and so forth for a decade. Like we you didn't miss. So I believe that it should be like a rite of passage sort of thing. You need to earn the right to auto regulate.
Yeah. Kind of, and that kind of goes into there's like different things. So like if you don't have like the fancy technological data in front of you to like kind of give you an idea of like where you are recovery wise, like that brings up a great point, Trotter, about like how people gauge like their RPE or like what like a true like reps and reserve is with training, right? So like where are you at for that day? How do you actually gauge an RPE of 8 if you've never trained before? Right? I mean, if you go lift for the first time and you've never picked up a barbell and you're struggling with the barbell, like that RPE is going to be pretty high, right? So
Mhm.
like then all of a sudden you go back 2 weeks later and it feels like an absolute joke. So like, is it because now you've just adapted and you're starting to develop the neuromuscular like actually education, or like you're not going to get strength gains within the first few weeks? You're just learning to move, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, I 100% agree with you. I think like between the combined like numbers of experience, you kind of learn how your body responds to training, how you're going to be taking in like the stressors from that, and
Hmm.
making a better gauge of it. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Uh, and that even kind of goes back to like the coach's eye, right? So like when you guys are working with the kids and you guys are kind of getting to see like what's the quality of their movement like. So like if you see a kid who like maybe they're supposed to hit a certain percentage for that day, what do you do? Do you let them like really like sit there and struggle with that weight, or do you maybe remove a few pounds and then ask them to keep going to maintain form or maintain speed of the bar? Right? We make those modifications for them that they themselves might not make that adjustment. They don't have that know-how yet. They're learning, they're picking it up. Um, I mean, there's a few variables like subjectively that we could use, but then like if you actually wanted to get more into the data, I mean, like if you wanted to look at like heart rate variability, I know that's gotten really big, especially since Whoop kind of took off. People looking to see like how in tune is your autonomic nervous system about regulating. If that is really high and it's really firing on all cylinders, your body's basically better adjusting to handle those types of stressors, let alone recover from those stressors. Um, there's just so many different things to kind of go about when I kind of talk about today. So I'm kind of curious. You guys, I mean, Brandon, did your watch do any kind of metrics? Like, do you play on any of those? Like, do you use any of those?
Um, I do like I'll start like my own workout just to, I'll do the functional strength training if I'm just lifting. I'll do the interval aspect on Wednesdays when I'm doing my interval training. But for the most part, I just kind of don't know how actually accurate it is. But if it's
Mm-hmm.
consistent, I want to try to be in the consistent ranges. If I got a dynamic lowers, I want to try to push that heart rate anywhere from 160 to 170 on conditioning days. Man, I'm trying to get up to 180 to 190. So I'm trying to full throttle that. And, my strength days, I try to keep it under 140, 150, make sure I'm kind of fully recovered for that next lift. Not
Hmm.
really letting fatigue be a factor. But I'm starting to figure out that because I'm switching, like I'm a sumo style deadlifter. So I've been doing a lot of conventional work and I'm a low bar squatter. I'm just doing a whole bunch of high bar work now. And just the number change is almost 100-pound differences. So just try to adjust those numbers and the intensity and things and, kind of find out where my weakest points are and stuff like that. So I've been playing with those numbers and it's just kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it's terrible.
No.
But I do think that's like important as well, especially when you have coaches that have like been there, done that. Because obviously, we're not gonna we're already asking the parents for like a gym membership sort of thing. So like we're not gonna be like, oh, you need to go buy this whoop, you need to go buy this ring, you need to go buy this, and that, and the third.
Hmm.
I think at the level that the kids are at, we have a trained enough eye to know, and we've been around them long enough to know how they're moving, how they're responding. I mean, even their body language can tell you a full chapter of how they're feeling.
Yep.
Um,
Mhm.
and now it is very challenging, I guess, if you will, with a lot of our very competitive athletes because they are in the stage of more is better. Um, and now, like I'm very guilty of that. So like I understand exactly where they're coming from. So like to be able to be like, hey, do you trust me enough? Pull back just for this training session, maybe even the next one.
Hmm.
I'll let you do whatever you want next week. And I promise you, you'll probably end up hitting PRs and stuff like that. And then, sure, they do it every single time. So it's just about building that trust as, athlete and coach too.
Hmm.
We're not going to do that with a lot of like our newer athletes because we understand that there is a change in their bodies that is, or they're trying to adapt to our training style. I I'm not going to name drop, but I think in the last, I don't know, 5 to 7 new onboard kids, we've had like 3 or 4 puke like within the first like 1 or 2 sessions. But it's just like they're just not ready for that stimulus yet.
Hmm.
We do a high volume of running and cutting and new drills and stuff like that, and kids get nervous, so like their heart rate's already up, they're already kind of going, like they might have like tried to prep for it and
Hmm.
had more liquid than what they thought they needed, and that kind of stuff too. So, and then it's just a lot of different movements in the weight room too. So we have to attack like the different stimulus and stuff like that. So it's just them getting used to it,
Hmm.
and then that allows us to see like, okay, they're picking it up on at this point within 2-3 weeks. It's pretty much like, okay, they've kind of figured it out, they've adapted. Now we get an idea of how they're going to be moving and working and their effort, so to speak.
Oh, it's cool to see.
Yeah,
Like you start seeing the little gears turning upstairs in their noggins.
something. Yeah, sometimes just lights on, nobody home.
uh, no, I think it's definitely a good thing that you guys can kind of basically do that for the kids. Take them. I mean, I still remember my very first time going up north to fast in Lima, Ohio. And I remember like the first week, I think I threw up a total of 3 times. It was just a completely, I mean, you're so used to like training with your high school team. And
Mhm.
like we all have been in that realm where we know what that is like, where then all of a sudden you actually go to like formally organized training. And then all of a sudden it's like a completely different animal. And you realize, oh, this is a completely different level of preparation than when I like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
And then next you know you want to come back every single time. You're absolutely loving it. Um, it is a lot of fun.
And half of it's not even like that's not our goal for that to
yeah,
happen. It's just like
yeah.
it
It just happens.
yeah. Sometimes it just the way it goes. And I think some of these kids are so used to. I mean, we're in a new building and it's much cooler, but it's still 80, 85, little bit of humidity. But if you're used to just sitting in the AC all damn day, not drinking Mountain Dew or whatever, then all of a sudden you come into an 80, 85 degree gym and put a little work in, it's not going to take much for you to throw that up.
Yeah,
Gross. Uh,
But
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
is there anything you guys would like to experiment with the kids? Like just kind of see like, so like, I don't know if you guys remember when we had Abby from Yale on, and I think even Cam talked about like when they would use like the Cam from, he was in Eastern Michigan, he's down in UC now. Um, when they would use like the force plates just to kind of see like what's the level of readiness, like what's the power output for the max vertical jump, and then they would have like, okay, you're at this, you go do this today. Like they almost had like an A, B, and a C plan. Um, like have you guys ever thought about like experimenting with anything like that, or do you guys feel like you just got a good enough handle on that, or like if you have something in the gym that you would like to use for that?
they just come out with actually a reasonably priced bar velocity reader.
Yeah, I
That
saw that.
yeah, I'm gonna be
Cube.
uh, yeah, I'm gonna be getting one. We're gonna get an iPad and attach to the mono. Kind of use that with some of our more elite athletes. Going to see kind of how many um, profiles in a way you can put on that app. You know, try to maybe pick some of our top 5 athletes in the gym that we know that are going to be there when they say they're going to be there, and they're going to be consistent with their training, and then kind of use them as a dummy in a sense to kind of go along with that style. So
Hmm.
Well, I
Interesting.
think that's important too. If your highest level and elite athletes aren't able to handle it, what makes you think the lesser athlete will, or the just
Yeah.
not as prepared?
Yeah.
They just don't have it yet. They don't have that proprioception or anything like that. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, if you're going to guinea pig, use a better athlete, and then just slowly work the levels down.
That could be fun to play around with. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
yeah,
That'd be a lot.
they got a Vertimax or a Vert reader too.
Hmm.
yeah, that one's been helpful.
Yeah,
Been using that one because I mean, after a certain point, like they're just slowly decreasing each jump and jump and jump. So
yeah.
there's no point to continue jumping them. It's not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, no point in that. I mean, like if they, I know like one of the things that I like to do in the clinic is that like if someone comes in and like, we're trying to monitor and manage symptoms and, kind of maintain progress. I do like to have like 3 different like contingency plans of like I have this initial one set up for them based off like my overall like arcing like progression for them. And then let's say maybe they just were doing a lot of walking with the family that day and ACL and leg is just really burnt out, really tired, and maybe we do just got to kind of rein it in and go down a peg and go down a level of what I wanted to do that day. Maybe there's not as many reps in the tank because the leg is just absolutely gassed. Um, like there's a lot of different options, especially like in the rehab field where like you almost have to have multiple like plans prepared for that patient before they come in. So like I could have, let's just say I have 10 patients in a day, I could have basically 30 different plans, 60 different plans ready to go just based off their presentation for that day. Because sometimes it could be a complete 180 from the last time they were there. So I mean, getting good objective data beforehand and kind of doing a test and retest and kind of see like what what are you prepared for, and then what am I able to get out of you, maybe make you feel a little bit better for that day, and just keep our overall progress. Sometimes less is more. You don't
Mhm.
Especially
overestimate that day.
especially when you're dealing with in-season athletes. Like nowadays, it's like I don't even feel like a strength coach half time with in-season athletes. It's about
Yeah,
stress management. Like I got one football player that comes in now. He's got a previous like L3 to L5 injury, and I
Hmm.
can tell you exactly what we're doing after he takes 3 steps in that gym.
Yeah.
That's how like if he's hurting or if he's off a little bit, you can tell.
yep,
So
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. Same. Got a few athletes that are the same way. I mean, a lot of them are dealing with like growth spurts and everything like that. So they're coming in, and you can just tell their knees are just wrecked. So it's like, all right, well, we're taking an easy day, so to
Hmm.
speak. You know,
Yeah.
we're going to work around it, see if we can, get the thrusters going. And then if not, there's no point. All we're going to do is just do more of a setback.
which as a if you're an up and coming strength coach, that can almost kind of be like the harder sell for the parents. It's like, why am I paying you this much money for you to kind of just like essentially just baby some parents think just baby your kid. It's like, well,
Yeah.
if you want them to play on Friday night and they're feeling like dog shit on Wednesday, probably not
Yep.
going to perform very well. So after you take a 2 or 3 weeks and you kind of realize that okay, that's the a very important side of it. And, you definitely gonna have to sell your craft and what you're doing when it comes to kind of stuff like that. Just because some parents, they got that 1990s mindset where it's all gas, no brake.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, no one likes to appear weak, right? No one likes to admit weakness. No one likes to admit fatigue. Like power through, power through, power through. But it's I mean, recovery is just as important, and especially like if you're going to be using like a type of auto regulation approach to training. I mean, you need the bad just as much as you need the good. If you're feeling really good that day, cool, let's push. If you're feeling really bad that day, I need to make a new plan. I need to adjust my plan. Otherwise, if it's constantly pushing through what you are telling me is fine, it's clearly not fine. If all of a sudden your performance on Fridays tanks, you're clearly misreading yourself, and we maybe need to look about how are you monitoring your own recovery, let alone your own input, your own
I
subjective
mean,
assessment of yourself.
right. Yeah. No one's earned a scholarship injured on a bench.
Nope.
Like you got to get to the game and then show out everything that you've done before to lead up to that.
Yeah, and I mean, in season, I mean, if you're a senior, like I can understand that. I mean, maybe regulation is going to be a little bit more harsher for you. But I mean, if you're going on to the next level, I mean, think big picture. Is it really worth trying to train through an injury right now that maybe is going to set back not only your performance in this season, but then also what could potentially harm your training for preparing at the next level? Whereas maybe you're that sophomore, you rolled your ankle, the ankle's really ticked off, and you're trying to get back into training, let alone maybe you want to try to hit the last few games of the season. Like, are those last few games really necessary? If they really are that important to you, you want to try to get back into that? Well, I'm all for that. I mean, I just think it becomes a game of don't tell me you're feeling good because you want to go back to playing. Tell me you're feeling good because you legitimately do feel good. I mean, how many kids do we have that tell us, "Oh yeah, I'm feeling really good today," and then also we try to do the lightest and simplest thing for a warm up, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is horrible," and it's like, wait a minute, like let's have a come to Jesus moment here. Like, are you actually feeling good, or is like that's a really low intensity type movement? You're telling me it doesn't not feel good right now. Like, maybe let's reassess this. You know
Yeah.
what
We're
Oh,
going to be able to tell whether
yeah.
you tell us or not.
Kids
I
don't realize there's a wall coming no matter what, whether it's plastic or brick, it's coming.
Yeah.
mean? And the PT and strength coaches talk, in case
Mhm.
people were wondering.
I just had this conversation with an athletic trainer at the local high school today, actually.
Mhm.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
and she
Says,
tried covering it up,
dude,
and you called her right
like,
out.
bro, like, come on now. Like, we're better.
Yeah.
We're closer than this. You ain't gonna,
Yeah.
like, get around it.
Yeah. I never realized, obviously, until I became around this age, that
Mhm.
how terrible you were at lying as a
I
teenager.
feel like I was never that bad. Like, some of these
I,
kids are just
see,
bad.
yeah, I'd hope not. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, that excuse sucks. You need to come up with something else.
Uh,
Yeah.
you guys would be great parents.
Ah, one of us figuring it out. He's getting all the
Hey,
kinks out. So then he got me helping.
yeah, you got to have the first trial kid, right? See how it
Yeah.
goes.
First try. What happened with this one? Well, he had a few paint chips, but he's all right. Don't worry.
Yeah. Build your immune system. You're all
Do that a lot.
Uh,
right. That's all I had.
on the topic or just for the day?
Yes.
How about you, Brandon? Anything else on auto regulation training you want to talk about?
That's about it.
Okay. I'd like to bring up the type of periodization maybe people could get into. So, like, obviously, there's like your block linear, where it kind of pigeonholes you into like certain percentages through training. Um, I think that's where maybe sometimes, so like one of the things like that I fell in love with so far, obviously, I think I've said this on multiple occasions, is just the conjugate style of programming, the waves. I have loved the 3 week waves. Um, and then Lord help me, the middle of word is daily undulating periodization as well, where maybe you're going to be constantly changing the volume and the intensity, where basically monitoring how your body is feeling. Maybe one day you have a really heavy lifting day, maybe another day it's moderate, maybe one day you're doing higher reps, maybe another day you're doing higher loads, higher volume. Like just depends for that day and what your training is like. So like doing your due diligence as a strength conditioning coach, as a physical therapist, maybe you're even an athletic trainer working with the kids, before they're going out to practice. Like you can monitor how they're feeling for that day and you can make those adjustments on the fly. Like it doesn't always have to be 110% planned right on paper. Like if you see immediately how they're presenting and how they need to be adjusted, you need to be doing that and making that adjustment. It's not always going to be the subjective, like, oh man, I feel really good, or oh, I really feel like crap. It's the quality of motion. What's like, okay, they do this for a few repetitions and then everything just goes to hell in a handbasket. Like you need to have the good eye making those adjustments for them, like you guys have already talked about. But I mean, if you haven't heard of daily undulating periodization, or you've never heard of the conjugate method of training, I highly recommend going to go look into those styles because I mean, I feel like everyone just kind of gets lost in block periodization or linear periodization, and experiment a little bit. One of the best ways to kind of get an idea of like what these styles of periodization and programming are like is to experiment with yourself and kind of see what they're like and how you even feel during them. I myself, I actually just created it's a 16-week conjugate CrossFit style program that I'm kind of trying with myself right now. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm tired, but I actually feel pretty decent. Granted, it's only week one, so we're only just in the building phase, so it's gonna be fun. But like that's what makes it fun is like it's like a trial and error. Find what works. What do I need to make adjustments for myself? How could I make this as a nice blueprint for others to follow later? Like that's something fun to try and do, and that's where like I think others should try to do as well. I mean, you guys do that on the regular and just kind of see like how do the kids respond? Like every single time you guys get a chance to try out a program or you guys think that maybe how can I make adjustments? You guys are analyzing their performance. You guys are analyzing how like they're performing in their games, not just in the weight room and how they're doing, but then you're seeing like maybe where can we make this better? How can we make them faster? How can we make them stronger? We're making adjustments. It just needs to be done. It has to, otherwise you'll never go forward as a coach. Ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no,
I, I
oh man, what were you gonna say?
okay. Oh, I just think that with a lot of like younger kids, middle school, high school, even it's quote unquote easier to program in a linear periodization,
Hmm.
um, just because like they they probably need that rep work with that same stimuli.
Hmm.
But like with the conjugate one, you kind of got to like throw them little like golden nuggets every now and again. Because like it's a tough like program because there's a significant gap between the same exercise rotating back and around. So
Hmm.
um, I know like mentally that's I would personally say more draining on the kids than anything else because they'll get that one like I'll just use a safety squat bar to a box, and they're really good at safety squat bar. So like they love that at variation. But then you put them on a bow bar or a straight bar, and you take the box away, and suddenly they don't know what to do. So obviously they're going to hate that one. So like you got to keep them like uh, I don't know the word for it.
Engaged.
Uh, yeah, engaged and throwing all that on. So that's
Yeah.
what makes it tough. But
Yeah. What
When
keeps you coming back?
you get into like the original block linear with little younger kids, you can have that,
yeah,
okay, that 5 pounds or 10 pounds a week type progressions for a while because a lot of it's just coming from your nervous system getting it figured out. Where you got an experienced lifter trying to
Hmm.
put 5, 10, the try to stack the weight, man. That sometimes that gets impossible.
yeah,
To where conjugate, man, it's like you got to do your max for that day
yeah,
on that variation. So if you're a heavy somebody that if it's the paper says you got to hit this and you can't hit that because that's the progression you're on, that can get frustrating just as easy as it is can having to hit a weakness of one year lift. So
yeah.
Hmm.
And it's almost like an auto regulation, right? In terms of that too, because the kids they'll get fixated on that number of percentages. We actually just had this during our last class of the evening, where he was just so fixated on trying to hit this 85% of his one rep max, and it was not going to happen, you know. So it's
Hmm.
just one of those where I'm like, oh, okay, well, we'll just take this off, do the work, or like finish the set,
Hmm.
that kind of thing. So yeah, it's the same thing. If you just put that one rep max in front of them, 99% of the kids aren't going to remember their PR anyway, and they rely on us to remember 100 different kids at 100 different variations, which we try. We come as close as we can get. We might be off by a pound or two, but But yeah, that's essentially like an auto regulation, and that's on purpose too. That that allows the athlete to take what the day gives you. It allows them to still grind, so they get that sensation of uh, work, if you will. And at the end of the day, they are getting that stimulus too. So there is
Your
that.
body's still, just because it's not a true 1 rep max, you're still grinding, and your body's still getting that stimulus. That's kind of where, if you want to go into like the bodybuilding phase, and Jay Cutler, he would hit all these leg extensions and all these leg presses before he'd actually go into his squats. His
Yep.
just because he doesn't have six, it feels like he had 600 pounds on his back, but really, it's 315,
Yep.
405.
A little
But his
pre-fatigue.
body's still getting that growth response. So
Yeah. Yeah, John Meadows, Mountain Dog Training. He used to do that all the time. That was I ran one of his programs when I was in college, and that was like the first thing that I noticed. I mean, you're doing, and we sort of do that with the kids as well. We do a lot of high volume reverse hypers. We'll do high volume like tricep push downs, push ups, band pull aparts, um, and that allows them one to warm up to where like they need it, but then it's almost like a pre-fatigue as well.
mhm. And it keeps the kids safe too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. I
So well,
mean,
and when they do have that option to go, like our one wrestler today, who
yeah,
he just went in there and did his quick little warm up, went right to his 1 rep max, and hit it by 110 pounds. So when they do get that rare chance to actually do go for a full 1 rep max, and they're feeling a little fresh and just
hit the gas.
floats off the ground.
Yeah.
Couldn't rip it. Go.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. That's pretty sick though. You said 100. How much?
10.
God, 110 PR? That's nuts.
Yeah. Now
And it
that's
wasn't. I
that's
mean, it was
yep.
over it's a 455 deadlift, so it's not like it was 100
Yeah.
to 225 or 210, whatever it was. I mean, it was a respectable for at 100 and
50.
what is he, 150-pound kid?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
150, 155. It depends.
Yeah.
He fluctuates a little bit. But I mean, that was like we started really talking to him spring/summer. And one of our goals was that he was always trying to maintain like this low body weight so he could wrestle at I forget what it was, something 130 something,
Yeah,
maybe low
136.
140s. Yeah, there it is.
Mhm.
But it's like, man, you got to give yourself the opportunity to fill out your frame and just see how you move, see how you like it. Because we can take the pounds back off, but it's much harder to put them on at that age.
Yeah. Gosh, that's nuts.
Yeah.
150 and
And
4.
that's something that we also really try to avoid is those massive PRs as well. It's just one of those where like, we set him up, he took his 10-pound PR or his 5-pound PR and smoked it. We were like, oh, okay, this is going to be a very rare day for us.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
then we, let that leash out a little bit.
Shoot. That's crazy. I mean, good on you guys for assessing where he was and kind of seeing how fast that bar was moving. That's
Mhm.
Well, he
crazy.
took it's kind of a weird season for him because he decided, hey, I'm not going to run cross country this year after he's ran it for the last 4 or 5 years since his junior high.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So to kind of, his body's not used to that very high condition level. He's working on his fast twitch muscle fibers. He's working on his power, his explosiveness, and he doesn't have to, fight the energy systems back and forth day in and day out.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's actually pretty sick.
Yeah.
God bless it.
And I mean, he's done well so far. This summer with different wrestling tournaments, he's getting colleges to start talking to him now. And that's the goal. Like we want to give him the opportunity to go somewhere if he chooses. So, and he just wrestled the number 4 kid in the nation and took a whooping, I guess. But I haven't seen the video yet. He's going to come in and he's going to bring it in and show me. But I would probably venture to say, without seeing it first, that I think he did a lot better than what he would have done had he ran cross country or tried to do something like that and not put his focus in on his power output and developing all of that this summer.
Makes sense. Dang. Well, gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure to be able to sit down with you guys again and actually record an episode. So it's been great.
Oh yeah.
We'll get a few more topics going. We'll get a few things going. Get Dave back on here as well. But no, like I said, good to have you guys back on here, and we'll be having a few interviews kind of coming up here and there, and get a few topics out there for you guys. So thanks you very much, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you guys in the next episode.